Welcome back to Bulletproof Mindset, your go-to podcast for health, fitness and entertainment. I'm your host, Dale Crossar, and today we're talking about poor body image, body dysmorphia, whatever you want to classify this as. This is a very important topic that every single one of us deals with. However, how we deal with it kind of differs from person to person and depending on their experience. And sadly, a lot of people can be affected with this, that ultimately can lead to them try to take their own lives because they're not happy with how they look in front of a mirror, which is such a bizarre thing to think about. But by no means necessary is this to replace the need of a therapist. This is just something I wanted to share and wanted to get more awareness on a topic that is probably one of the more toxic things that happens in the fitness space from both ends, but we need to kind of meet it in the middle, because fat shaming's on one side of things and accepting your body's on the other side of things, and we need to kind of meet in the middle to pursue this journey of health and fitness. Before we get into the episode, really quick, if you are enjoying the episode, we're coming up to the end of the year, and I would love, if you haven't already, leave a 5-star rating on Spotify. I try to chase down 300 5-stars by the end of the year, so it would mean the world to me if you can help me get me there. Other than that, you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow the Joint Bulletproof podcast page, which is at Bulletproof Mindset __, and I'm at Coach Crossar on Instagram. So if you've got a question for me, fire them away, leave them below this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Right, let's talk about body image, body dysmorphia, body unsatisfaction, should I say. Not being happy with your skin, how you look. There's many different ways this gets categorised as, but there's one thing we all have in common, and it's experiencing this. I don't care where you're at with your health and fitness journey, it's all a driver that we come across. And for some, we deal with it more challenging than others. For others, it's been a byproduct of how we were raised, from our parents being not happy in their own skin and us just subtly picking up what they do. And now we're doing it, and guess what? We're going to probably pass it down to our future generation. So I wanted to talk about this because it's absolutely rife in the fitness space. There's two sides of this coin. One side of it is the whole being out of shape's okay and fat acceptance and body positivity movement, which I don't think that's what the body positivity movement was intended for. But on the other side of things, you then have this very Instagram glamorous, and it's just all about the looks. It's all about the abs, and we have to kind of draw a line at either one of these sides and trying to meet in the middle, breaking this down, like not feeling good in your own skin, not being able to have the confidence and not go into social settings because you feel you're ugly, you feel your nose is too big, your ears are too big, or maybe it actually comes down to the having more body fat or not being as ripped, not being as jacked. Like, there's so many categories this can branch off into. And then today I want to talk about all of them, and I want to get through it. See, as long as one person can take a bit of advice away from this episode and start to make some positive changes, then that's all I care about. More and more people are becoming very obsessed with their physique. And this is a combination of social media, it's a combination of just more and more people getting into fitness, which is a good thing, but the main driver is always to change how they look. Now, this is good and bad, but when you think about it, so let's step back a bit actually. Body dysmorphia isn't, as much as it's a word that's thrown around, we don't all quite have it. It's almost like having been diagnosed with depression. A lot of us have depressive spells. It's very common for us all to feel anxious, but we wouldn't have anxiety attacks. Some people do, some people don't. But we all know what that anxious feeling feels like. And it's the same when we kind of refer to body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia is a mental health condition. It falls into that bracket, whether you like the label or not, but people throw it around. I'm very body dysmorphic, or it's maybe, I don't even know what the word, you hear the term BDD quite a lot. I think for females in particular are definitely more challenged with this, but I'm going to play devil's advocate with both sides here, right? So knowing what that is, and then understanding that although you might not be someone that suffers with severe anxiety or has been diagnosed with depression, you know what depression feels like, and we know what not being happy in our own skin feels like as well. That doesn't mean we all have body dysmorphia though, right? Now, let's preface this, as always, with this. Look, at the end of the day, I'm a coach. I'm a personal trainer, and I help people get stronger, fitter, and healthier inside the gym. And through that process, this conversation comes up. By no means necessary am I replacing the therapy branch that is probably one of the better suited tasks to go deeper into solving someone that has challenges around their body dysmorphia. But there is things that we can all do before we make that leap, or if we're not comfortable to make that leap. That's why I want to do today's episode. Now, I've done this episode a couple of times. There's some fantastic pages to follow. First of all, Katie Byers is up there with one of the best pages to follow, where the shift generally becomes, what does your body do for you, and get to process some of your feelings. And that I guess what I'm saying here is very much an understatement in what she does, but a great page to follow, and we've done some great episodes with her so far. I'm sure she'll be on in a future episode. But what's the underlying issue, right? What is the reason we feel like this? Is it because of social media pressure? Is it because of external factors? Where does it come from? And as I was saying at the start, it usually stems, there's a large chunk of this that stems from our parents, from our friends, from our family, and just as time goes on, it just becomes part of our own nature. I want to tell you kind of a quick story. If you haven't heard this before, then this is a good story to share. If you have, then apologies. But essentially, I never really knew what this phrase was. I'd have thought getting into good shape, flexing my abs, try to be as jacked as I can. That doesn't mean I have body dysmorphia, because I'm showing it off. I'm flexing and I'm doing my thing on Bebo and MySpace, and then eventually it became Facebook. And through that process, why am I doing this at the time? Well, being a young guy, like, we're trying to attract the opposite sex, and not even that. We want to be liked. We want to feel needed. We want to feel that popularity. Now, I wasn't a popular kid in high school. Far from it, actually. I was like, I guess somewhere in the middle. I was very sporty, and I was known for being good at basketball and running and that sort of stuff. And yeah, like, that was really it. Wasn't in with the cool kids. Wasn't in with the Neds. Wasn't in with the moshers. Just kind of floated about and done my own thing. And as a byproduct of that, there's definitely parts of my childhood where I think to myself, looking back now, where I am at the age of 32, I'm thinking, fuck, the whole reason I started doing 50 sit-ups and 50 press-ups every single night was to get jacked, was to get attention. And it all stems from this one vivid memory where in PE you get changed, and the guys' locker room and the girls' locker room are kind of relatively close, and I had my top off. And then word got about that I had a 6-pack. I actually had an 8-pack, very genetically blessed when it came to my abs. But along with that genetics, I was hammering 50 sit-ups every single night. And until that became easy, I then went to 100. I was doing that in press-ups. And I got these blocky abs. So I can't even remember who it was that complimented, but I just remember getting a compliment saying, oh my God, Dale's got an 8-pack. And then someone else saying, oh, shows your 8-pack. And I liked the attention with that. So you know what that done for me? That dug me straight into, man, I am not missing. I am going to be doing sit-ups and press-ups until the day I die. And that's where an obsession became of mine. Now, this is the early start of, I wouldn't say body dysmorphia, but definitely an obsession over my body image. And there's nothing wrong with this, I would say, at the same time. But I want to communicate different points around this to get you guys thinking about your own journey. And this, so at what age am I here? About 14, 15. I'll throw up a picture on screen, actually. This is a picture I took in my room at the age of 15, so it's a bit blurry because it's an old, obviously. I don't even know like how I took this picture. I think it was on a BlackBerry. But very blocky abs, as you can see. I'm hunched over, I'm tensed. And I loved it. I loved the attention that I got with it. But did it satisfy the need of being fulfilled or being, right, okay, happy? Nah, I wanted more and more and more. And it almost became my identity later in my late teens and kind of early 20s. And yes, there's a part of this where it's nice to get compliments from the opposite sex, especially if you're a single guy. But there's another part of this that it was a drive of attention. Like, there's no word of a lie. When we post topless pictures or we post where we're feeling good, it's nice to get compliments. And there's nothing wrong with showing it off either, right? I'm going to circle back to this point to when we're talking about what do we do in our 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s. Absolutely should be showing off our hard work. And we don't need to show off in terms of ego, but it's finding the balance, isn't it? Like if you're doing it solely on the attention and the likes, you get this big spike of dopamine, and then the next post you put up, you don't get as many likes, then you become obsessive, and then you think, oh, I'm not good enough, and then you go, oh, I'm a fat mess, when you're sitting there with blocky abs or you're in good shape or whatever you want to class it as. So this was me, and I remember the press-ups and sit-ups just weren't cutting it. I was a very good runner. I had a very good performance-driven goal, which was get better at the skill of basketball, get better at any sport that we had in PE, be the best at that sport, because again, I got attention from that, but it was more fun. It wasn't just flex, it was, man, I have a performance goal to meet, and that performance goal sometimes was, I remember actually the PE teacher saying, Dale's too good at basketball, so we'll put him in a team himself, and I played against 10 other people, and my goal was to get to the basket, and their goal was to block me in one of the PE classes in like fourth year. So that felt good, like your centre of attention, and I thrived off that. And then as we got towards the back half of high school, and as I got, I guess, a wee bit more savvy, YouTube became a thing. Instagram wasn't really a thing. I'd want to say maybe it was just popping off when I became 16, 17, was I as young as that? So I know for some of you guys listening, you're like, oh man, you're an old bastard. I'm only 32. 1993 was when I was born. And yeah, so with YouTube, what do? You're like, how do I get jacked? And you look up these fitness influencers, fitness models, and you start following their programs. Now, where we're at in today's age, there is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people posting content. Back in the day, there was the same kind of 5-6 names, Ulysses Jr., Simeon Panda. Then you go into the bodybuilding world, because naturally you just gravitate towards what is it you're trying to do. You want to look the best, so let's look at what sport does that the best. I'm not even caring about performance anymore, because my dream of being a basketballer or doing something fitness related, I'm like, I just want to look good. Like, that's where I get my dopamine hit. I want to have that attention. I'm this skinny kid, or I thought I was a skinny kid, but actually looking at that picture I threw up earlier, I'm pretty jacked. Like, it's not as if I was stick thing. I used to consider myself as a hard gainer, but absolutely not. Another part of this as well, like as I started getting into my fitness, I get compliments from family. Oh, Dale, you've got whole legs. Look what Dale's doing. Dale's doing a run. He's doing this. He's won this tournament, or blah, 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 blah. And that felt good. The thrive on attention. So I don't want to give you a whole life story of like where I'm at just now. I'll kind of close this point off saying where this eventually led me into trying to gain so much size, getting obsessed with it and just try to be bigger, more shredded, do a competition, get more attention, until I realised at the age of 21, I couldn't hold a barbell in my back, and I struggled to twist in terms of my mobility. And I just didn't feel, I think at the young age of 20, the self-awareness I had was, I don't actually know where that came from, but to be able to turn around at my life at that point and go, right, I want to do a bodybuilding show, but at the same time, I don't feel good. So let me look up like some other ways to train, because it was all bro splits, push pull legs, and the training was always focused on growing a muscle group. The training wasn't I didn't care about compound lifts. I didn't value them at all. I fell into the category of, because it was hard, I avoided it, and because my mobility was shit, I didn't want to learn it, and because my ego was so high, I never wanted to put the bar on my back and start at the start. Like, I could hide away with these silly little splits, and that's generally what they are. And I think we all go through this. Like, the splits, I truly don't believe serve much purpose whatsoever, even if your goal is to build muscle. Now, with that being said, there's elements that you want to bring into programming, but that's a separate point for another episode. So yeah, that's kind of where I think, like, you can start to piece together a little story in your mind. It's like, when were you first aware of your body? And for me, mine's like, sounds like a good experience, doesn't it? Doesn't sound so bad at all. Now, there's lots of things that can then happen off the back of that. So I wouldn't say eating disorder was gained, but definitely broken relationship with food, very poor relationship with my body image. And I don't know if this would have been, in fact, I would imagine this would have been enhanced more hadn't I met Jill. So I met Jill when I was 18, and I'm still going through these poor body image issues. I went so extreme with trying to gain mass. I remember sitting on my side and I was like, holy shit, I've got a belly for the first time. And my identity was this guy who has abs. So I was very insecure. and decided, right, I need to get shredded now. So I put this all or nothing mentality 6-7 days a week into the gym, and I hired a bodybuilding coach, and I was like, right, the answer to my problems here is I need to get leaner again, so I'm going to go into a bodybuilding show. Like, don't know where the logic was there. Luckily, we've had things like this wonderful podcast. They weren't really a thing back when I was doing all this. So yeah, this sort of obsession, and that's what it became. It became an obsession about how can I get more shredded, leaner, bigger. But ultimately, I think the answer was never, because even though I was lean and I got shredded and I got bigger, I knew I was getting compliments. I knew in nights out, I was like, some size you are, mate. Nice legs, blah, blah, blah. But I wouldn't know how to take a compliment. But straight away, it's not like, oh, thanks. It's like, oh, nah, I'm tiny. Like, straight away, I would respond. That's how I view myself, as I'm not, oh, man, they think I'm in good shape. Wait till they see where I'm at in 6 months' time. 6 months comes around, okay, I maybe added a little bit of size or whatever. But again, it's the next thing. And I was actually speaking to a client today about this. We have a glass ceiling, and we push through, or we break through that first initial barrier. And guess what happens when you break through that one? There's another one. And it's just another journey, and there's more barriers, and there's just different barriers. And the barrier that my client had today was, I wish this pain in my wrist would go away. And I was like, so funny you're saying that, because 6 weeks ago, before you started this, you said to me, I wish I could just be consistent hitting the gym. And guess what they've been doing over the last 6 weeks? They've nailed their workouts. They've been getting in the gym 3 times a week, doing their mobility steps, eating, tracking, all this sort of stuff. So you get what I mean? It just becomes a new problem. And this is very evident in those who are very obsessed or have a very poor relationship with their body image. And I'm going to classify this as poor relationship. This does stem into body dysmorphia, but being body dysmorphic, is that the right word? Is, as I said, a diagnosis of how they view themselves in their mind, right? So it's a mental health diagnosis. Now, do you need a label to tell if you're this? Well, no. But ultimately, I think the stat here is that if you're spending 6 to 8 hours a day fixating on your looks, checking yourself in the mirror, ironically said 3 hours to get ready, which I think is pretty wild, but we just accept that that's okay for women to do. Oh, they're just doing their hair and their makeup and whatever. But 3 hours is a long time, because it's an obsession over trying to get the perfect look, not being happy with their face, with how their makeup is and whatever. And I get, look, there's a creativity side of this thing, which I'm in no position to comment on, of course. But this is just food for thought. Another part of this is not going to events, not showing up to places, because there is a massive insecurity or that you'll be laughed at or judged because of maybe a facial feature or how your body is, whether it's excess fat, whether it's not enough muscle, too skinny, broken arm that's been replaced a different way. Like, it's, the list is endless. So I think a lot of people think body dysmorphia, think fat and fit, and that's ultimately it. But this list goes deeper, and it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Oh, it's my nose, it's my eyebrows, it's my hair, whatever it is, right? So breaking it down simply, as I said, it's just being more critical of yourself, and it's when you're obsessing over flaws. And another one here is actually seeking comfort from others. Like, and I found myself doing this. It's like, do I look fat here? Like, I remember saying this in my late 20s or even mid-20s. I was like, oh, this t-shirt makes me look fat. And that still carries over to where I'm at now, but I've got a much better relationship with that, and it's been worked on, which also I'm going to come into on how you can work on that, right? So the whole constantly seeking reassurance, always asking people, do I look okay? And then when they say, yeah, you look great, it's like, no, I don't. Like, it's like, I don't know. I always think this is the term gaslighting, but Jill says it's not. But saying to someone, how do I look? Yeah, you look great. No, I don't. Like, creating an argument out of that situation. To me, that's gaslighting. And it's weird that that's just, this is the chemistry in our brain. It's just programmed wrong. And we need to try and reprogram that. So how do we? Well, a couple of layers to get into, right? So we need to kind of break through this outlook on first of all, what we deem as body dysmorphia, and how to balance this approach of life. Now, the last thing I'll say, and before I move on to these points to help, is the whole being fixated on looks to seek reassurance is one side of things, but the other end is also it becoming your only identity. And sadly, in the personal training space, this is massive. The amount of I really don't know how to communicate this, because I've got friends and I've got people that I've had on the podcast and yada yada yada. Transformation photos is obviously a big thing, a big driver of marketing. And look, if it's fat loss you're after, then you'd expect to see someone that's had good body composition changes. But what I then see off the back of that is people throwing up pictures of themselves in good nick, right? Like good nick in terms of like if you compare it to the average person that is overweight. And bear in mind, like body dysmorphia isn't just about the shape, but this is a big part for most of us when you're tuning into this episode or thinking about body image. And it's the whole before picture, joining or starting my 6-week cut now, and then it's like picture 4 weeks later, and it's like, yeah, and they're like flexing under different lighting and good lighting. Nothing's really changed with their body image. They've just hit a different pose, got in better lighting, maybe not ate as much that day, so they kind of lean out a little bit just to kind of fabricate some pictures. Now, I'll tell you firsthand, my biggest driver for doing this whole fat to fit journey in my 23, 24, I'll actually throw the picture up here, the before and afters I put. That got me so much attention. And this is a big thing that we used to be a very strong marketing tool back in the day for personal trainers. And this was before I was a personal trainer, thankfully. But I loved the attention I got from this picture. I got tons of engagement, tons of liked, and it was like this social proof. Like, yeah, look at Dale, like he was that guy in high school and he's back to being that guy at the age of like 24, 25. But once that transformation picture was done, which I got in very lean shape, it was all about, right, how do I make the next transformation picture better? Because I want the same engagement, I want the same attention. And this is what I see with people. It's like, okay, another year's by, right? Okay, back into a fat loss phase. And it's like, here's where I start and here's where I'm going. It's like, why? Like, why do we need to, why is where you start such a, is it truly a bad place? Like, and I say that from the ones, yeah, I guess I'm just going to say this point. I say that from the ones that don't really have much fat to lose. You can still see their muscle mass. Okay, they maybe went from 8% body fat to 14, but that's still a healthy amount to be at. It's actually arguably, I'd say, a better amount because you get to enjoy probably the luxuries of life, still feeling strong and still working out and all that sort of stuff. So it just pissing me off, and especially with coaches. And I don't like being the guy who throws shade at coaches because it's all driven from insecurity. It's like, feeling so crap myself. Boom, picture of them in topless, or boom, picture of them in their fucking, what is the equivalent topless for females, like shorts and sports bra. And we'll probably go on. In fact, filters is a good point to bring up here as well. But essentially it's like, well, what you're writing and what I'm seeing is two contradicting things. And if you mention body dysmorphia to some of these people, they're like, no, I'm not. Like, they see it as a badge of honour. Yeah, I want to be, like, I want to be in good shape. And it's like, you fucking are in good shape. Like, you don't see that you're in good shape. You're so fixated on the next goal that you don't realise that that's not really going to give you the reward that you want. It's like a misalignment, which I'm going to come on to. So, how do we tackle this, right? Right, so, what have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 different points. No doubt have a little bit of a tangent that I'll go off as I'm running through some of these, but let's kind of break them down, okay? First things first, we need to understand is, what is the end goal, okay? So let's tackle this more from a fitness point of view. So that's most of us is what we're doing. We're trying to pursue this journey of being fitter, being healthier, being stronger, but ultimately, I want to lose this bit here. I want to lose this jiggly bit in my arm. Like, the phrases are, so it's almost comical, like how often that becomes like a phrase, and it's driven by pressure from social media, I guess. But ultimately, see, all this stuff is pressure from the own individual. I don't like just saying, oh, this is us as coaches, or this is us as the fitness space, that we are setting these unrealistic standards. To an extent, yes, but also you as the consumer that's consuming their content, you need to read through the bullshit. So see your favourite influencer or whatever, and you see that it's just constant topless pictures. Why? Right? I understand if there's maybe a wee bit of an attraction side of things there, but are you really valuing someone based off how they look? Now, some of you might go back, yeah, I do. Like, that's an attractive trait. It's very attractive when someone has sculpted glutes. If you're an OG listener, you'll maybe throw back to that episode 50 odd, where there is a demand or a chase for wanting someone with sculpted glutes, or even girls wanting these this shelf building a bum. Nothing wrong with that, is there? It's an attractive trait from male to female, but is it the be all and end all? Like, we always think about attraction just solely on appearance, but there's way more than that. There is the confidence, there is how they carry themselves, their mannerisms, their character, their drives, their goals, what they do training wise, what their performance looks like in and outside the bedroom. You know what I mean? Like, there's tons more stuff, and I guarantee you can meet a dim-witted, most attractive looking Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie, whatever celebrity crush you have. You can have them in front of you, but if you're not on the same page as them, you don't like the same stuff, you're not, like, there's no chemistry back and forth, it doesn't matter how good looking they are. That is a dud relationship, right? So I get, like, I get the whole looking good, right? I get the whole wanting a little bit more muscle mass, sculpting the body, shaping the body. Absolutely, it's fantastic that you can do that. It's fascinating that we can do that. But once we get to that, or once we drive towards that, where is the end goal? And why is it the end goal? And that's a question to ask yourself. If it's to get in shape for the holiday that you've got coming up, like, why? What's going to happen when you're by the holiday? Are you quite happy just to gain the weight back? Or are you quite happy to let your body shape change again? Like, really? No, probably not. So it gets you to think a little bit deeper. It's like, right, what is the deeper layer? Imagine an onion, let's peel back the layers here. What's the next layer down? I want to get in shape for my holiday. Why? Because then I'll be accepted. Really? Will you not be accepted if you're not in good shape? Well, no, but I'll get laughed at. You think you'll get laughed at being on holiday, being in the shape you're in? Yeah. Okay, let's imagine one of your other friends go on holiday with you. Would you laugh at them for not being in good shape? No. Define good shape. Well, it's a six-pack. Is it? No, for me, it's 65 kilo on the scales. Is it? So if someone's 70 kilo, they're going to get laughed at. So you see what I mean? It's like, really, really question yourself on, why the fuck is it I'm doing it? Now, this can then leave you with, well, I don't want to get in shape. Fuck it. So I'm happy just to have this excess body fat, fall into the maybe obese category and live this life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, don't get so fixated on just the looks part, okay? Goals are absolutely important. Ultimately, we need strong goals to back up the ability to show up for the training program. So that's why the goal, you wouldn't think going on holiday is a goal, but ultimately it's a deadline. It's a point to work towards. So because that point's in place, doesn't matter how brutal the program is, you're like, fuck, I'm following this. 4 weeks to go. And usually what happens is, like, I've got 10 weeks to the holiday. I can do it next week. That's 9 weeks to the holiday. I'll do a wee bit. It's 8 weeks. 7. 6. Fuck. It's only 4 weeks to the holiday. I need to do double sessions to catch up so I can hit that point. You see where the poor relationship with workouts, with food, and with your body image can then start to occur. And this isn't even talking about the facial features. If you're born with a bigger nose, narrow nose, small beak, big teeth, no jawline, round face like me, all these different things. And I'm not saying that to get attention. It's just, we're all born with different features. Fucking embrace them. Like, why are we so judgmental to, I need to look this way? No, you don't. You need to embrace who you are. And one way you can improve your appearance is, one, as I said earlier on, work on your character, your mannerisms, just how you engage with day-to-day interaction when it comes around people. And I don't mean attractiveness in the sense of, like, always looking for a partner, albeit that'll be a big driver for most of you guys. But ultimately, in a relationship as well, like I want to feel attractive towards my wife, and I'm very much attracted to her, and I want that, and that chemistry is there around how we both look, right? That's one element. I'd be lying to you if it's not. But another element is what she's working on, being able to, like, the drive to, like, quit her job and do these things and go out a run and share these experiences together. These are all things that are attractive and build up and we work together on. It's not just, oh, you're looking good in that dress. Like, that's one wee part of it. The aesthetic goals not being the end goal has to be something to consider, right? So wedding, event, holiday, just because there's a program that finishes in X date, you really need to think beyond. Are you going to stop working out once you buy that? And most of you go like, no, but because the program and the intensity is so freaking high, you end up being burnt out by the end of it. Everything's so restrictive, and you're just absolutely done. So being shredded, is that going to make you happy? Let's say you get shredded and you don't get the attraction from the other sex. What's that then doing to your body image? One, it's making you think, what a waste of time that was. I committed so much energy and got not what I wanted in return. So this whole fitness thing isn't for me. That's a thought. Second thing is, wow, I must be even uglier than I thought. I must not be too overweight, or I must not be more defined enough. I must be whatever, insert whatever it is you want to insert. So you get where the goal of fixation on a look can be quite detrimental for a lot of people. Now, is there a case where this is positive? Yeah, absolutely. Like there's plenty of clients where there is an imbalances created, or there's goals to have a bigger muscle group, so we work on it, and it's one part of the process. But we tie other things to it. We make sure there's numbers behind the lifts that we're doing. We make sure there's a detailed program. There's an understanding as to why we want that. And sometimes the why can simply just be because I think it's going to make me feel good. And it's like, right, cool, let's experience it. And 8 times out of 10, it does. But it doesn't become your identity, because you can be a very hollow, shallow person if it's just flexing, or posing. Like, it can be very, very shallow, where it's all about being an influencer, all about showing off. And as I said, it's good to show off, absolutely, like show off your hard work. But if that's all you've got, then there's a good chance that that obsession is going to be what leads to your demise and leads to you getting deeper and deeper into this hole of poor body image. Okay, next point. Stop comparing yourself to your past. Stop comparing yourself to others, full stop, when it comes to body image, right? Tell you one thing, if there's anything I can learn and go back and tell my younger self, one, I don't think he would listen, but hopefully you do. But you're on this journey looking a certain way, and if it's to be the biggest, to be the most shredded, to be the most vascular, the dense, the biggest bum, the biggest arms, biggest legs, I hate to break it to you, there's always going to be someone that's ahead of you. And I know it's a pretty shit mentality to have, but unless you're going to pursue this journey of competing in bodybuilding and making it your whole life and your sport is obviously becomes your career and it becomes your whole world, then go for it, right? Absolutely lean into it. Be the best. Aim to be the best, because that drive, the dedication, everything is going to show up for that. You will be the best. But if not, then we need to shift that, right? You need to kind of look at your comparison to you, not your previous self, but where your future self can be, right? So a lot of people look back and it's like, oh yeah, but I used to look so good when I was 17. I'm like, 17? The fuck are you talking about? 30 now? Like, why are you comparing yourself to when you were 17? Do you want to go back to life when you were 17? Some of us may do. No job, no money, no career, no fucking hassle. Like, why is that like that's not a fair comparison. That's like me bringing you in and going, right, you are going to be paired up with this 17-year-old, okay? And I just want you guys to do this workout today. and I want this workout, by the end of it, I want us to have burned X amount of calories, and whoever burns the most amount of calories wins. You'd be thinking to yourself, why am I paired up with a 17-year-old? And then two, it's like, as the person's doing it, you're not going, oh, they've got it easy. You'd just be like, it's just another person. So stop comparing yourself to your previous past just because you've gained a bit of weight, or you've lost a bit of performance, or you've lost a bit of muscle or drive, motivation, whatever it is. This is life, right? As we get older, I just realised, see that analogy I just said, that's complete bullshit. What was that meant to be? I'm not on form tonight. It's 10 o'clock when I'm recording this. So, but essentially you wouldn't have, if you had your 17-year-old self in front of you, what would you be telling them? Would you genuinely be judging them? And I guarantee you a lot of this kind of thinking more of my female clients here. You think back to that time where you believe you were in shape. You probably didn't speak to yourself so nicely, right? You probably judge yourself very extremely, and there was a big fixation on body image. And guess what? That's when you consider now that you were in shape. So there's a deeper root, there's a deeper cause of what's going on there. Whether it's just the lingo that you've picked up from your friends and seeing your mum or dad, whatever it is. I can't imagine dads, but dads might be a wee bit different. But you get what I mean? So the comparison side of things needs to go. And on the comparison side of things, we need to also look at social media. Social media, we see the highlight reel of people's lives. We see the best bits, and we see the fuckery that goes on with messing about with body images, messing about with images and video. Let's talk about lighting, talk about AI enhancements. Let's talk about people just physically photoshopping and video editing their videos to look a certain way. And that's why you get people calling out. And although that can be a very negative thing to constantly be consuming, but if you find that someone's look at your social media following just now. So really challenge yourself on why you're following someone. Is it because they look a certain way? Is it because, they've got nice abs, they've got nice face, nice bum, whatever it is? But do they genuinely provide you any other value than how they look? And I know you might engage look at their family's so photogenic, so that it's all fake. It genuinely is all faked. So really think about that. And if they don't give you any value, and it's purely just pictures of half naked pictures of them constantly, then I think it's probably time to unfollow them. Genuinely, what other value are they giving you? There's tons of accounts out there, and this is where it can get very overwhelming. You're constantly hit with that. My God, look at that person. Oh, look at that person. I'll tell you one thing, see at High Rocks, obviously this is something where people take their tops off. I'm looking around and I'm like, man, there's tons of tanned people here. I didn't even think of it. Body image wasn't necessarily not as shredded as some of these guys. I generally was like, man, I'm so fucking white. I was like, fuck, I stand out like a sore thumb. And I was like, oh fuck, it's me judging myself. It's like, do I care? And it's like, nah, not really. And that was it. Now, there's other things that I've worked on when it comes to my body image. A big part of this is going to be around what goals you set for yourself, what type of training you do. The performance side of things is a massive one. But the comparison of judging by other people, it needs to stop. Now, I did definitely have my thoughts on this challenged a little bit when a good friend of mine, Jill, who's been on the podcast, was like, well, comparison isn't the thief of joy. We need to compare ourselves to something. And we absolutely do. It becomes like a driving force. So comparisons just now, I'm looking at times for High Rocks, right? And I'm looking at the times for Athex. And I want to see what the best are doing. And then I'm like, okay, if that's what they're doing, what can I then do? And that's the important part. It's like using that as the North Star, or the kind of sail for the ship. You're steering in a direction because you think, right, okay, that's the comparison. I want a bit of that, and I'll get to experience that. And through my own experience, I'll make a decision. Is that the right thing for me? But this ties into the performance points. I'll circle back to that then. But the comparison definitely needs to be there. But ultimately, if all you're doing is getting bombarded with half-naked pictures, what is that doing? What is that doing to your mentality? And better question yet, would you let the way that you're speaking to yourself through that, and the comments and the thoughts that come into the mind, and the kind of harshness and judgment, would you genuinely let your friend speak to, like, the closest person in your life, would you let them speak to themselves like that? No, you wouldn't. So why are you letting yourself speak to yourself like that? Yourself speak to yourself. It's like you, me, and I. Like, a wee bit of a tongue twister. Okay, so next one. What sort of routine can you stick to? Routine has to be a good thing that has helped me overcome mine, right? So I fell into the habit of, I want to be the leanest, the biggest, the most muscular, and in order to do that, I need to follow this training split. And this training split is 6 days a week, 7 days on the Stairmaster, blah, 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 blah. You can argue that that might be a poor training split, but ultimately it was high intensity, high volume. Now, when I'm missing 1 day and then I miss 2 days, I'm feeling shit about myself. And then that internal shitness, the negative kind of outlook, just starts to spiral downwards. To get into good shape, you don't need to be working out 6 days a week. To change anything to do with your body, like physically change your body, if that's the pursuit that you're on, you generally can work out, I'd say 3 times a week. But my head was so fixated on, this is the only way. The only way is 5, 6, 7 days a week, double training days, running at the weekends, doing this, doing that. But it's not. There's way more. There's way more that we can carry with this, right? So your routine side of things, like, consistency will always beat perfection, okay? The perfectly program for you, right? Let's say I had a lab of 10 of the best coaches in the world, the most experienced, and we sit you down, we're like, right, what's your goals? And we do all this testing, we're like, right, Johnny, Sandra, we've got you in this room. We've got the perfect program for you to follow over the next 12 weeks that will guarantee you the result that you want, to be this weight in the scales, this amount of muscle, and have this shredded abs. I'm throwing that in there, so I'm just assuming that's what you want. And if your name's Johnny and Sandra, then welcome. Here's what you have to do. You have to follow this program. And you're like, right, cool. But you only follow it 40, 50%. Let's say you follow a free program of ChatGPT or YouTube or whatever, but you manage to follow that 90%. The one that you can follow 90% every single time will outperform that best program for you, arguably. I could maybe make an argument against that, but that's fitness at the end of the day. There's always devil's advocate that you can play. So the routine that you can stick to, we need to find a structure and a program that kind of fits your lifestyle needs, that fits the chaoticness that comes with other things. Now, how do you know if it's the right program? Well, week 1, you hit all the days you're meant to hit. Week 2, you hit all the days you're meant to hit. Week 3, you maybe miss a day, but you hit all the other days. Week 4, you hit all the days you're meant to hit. Perfect program for you. An example where you don't have the perfect program. Week 1, you miss a day, but you hit 2 other days. Sorry, you miss 2 days. You hit 2 days though. The week after, again, you get into the gym once, but then the overwhelmingness and you miss the gym 3 days. Week after, you get 3 days in. Week after, you get 1 day in. We really need to assess at that point by 4 weeks. There's like really following a 5-day split. I'm probably better following a full body program at that point. So there are some of the switches that you want to make. Now, let's talk about the types of goals, right? So I'll fast forward a wee bit to one of the last points. Like, shifting your goals to performance-driven goals has been a game changer for me, right? And my performance goals have only just dramatically shifted in this past year. But for a long time, my performance goal was, I want to be able to hold a barbell on my back and squat ass to grass. I don't want to have this pinching sensation in my hips. I'm going to learn about how to get better hip mobility. I've got lower back pain from sitting at a desk all day. I don't want to have lower back pain. These were all my performance goals when I started. As I said, the foresight had been 23, 24. Albeit those weren't the words I was using. I was just like, I'm in pain in my lower back. I'm going to look at what I can do. Oh, this tells me I should deadlift and squat, right? Let me try and deadlift and squat. I'm really shit at these movements. Let me try and get better at these movements. That became my goals, right? And those were short-term goals that led to long-term goals. And then they became even, they just blew up. It became, right, getting pretty good at this now. It'd be quite cool to lift this weight. Right, okay, I've lifted this weight. What else could I do? Can I lift more? And then the cycle of training blocks and all these sort of things, finding the perfect routine. This is where sometimes it was 5 days a week training split, and then the next program was 3 because promotions on work or whatever life things that were going on. And that was one of the best things that I have learned, and I want to share with you guys, and that I do with my clients, to show them that progress isn't a set way. It's not written in pen, it's written in pencil. It can be adjusted, it can be rubbed out, and it can be rewritten. The main thing is that you stay on the wagon and you find something that's right for you. Now, focusing on how you look can kick everything off, right? But tying it to being able to perform in some way or another in those categories has to be the follow-up side of things, right? So it's one where a lot of clients have came to me before, and I've sort of like low-key shifted them to, right, okay, I know you want to lose weight, right? So I think what we should be doing is, let's do your movement assessment. Oh, actually, I can see here that it looks like you got a bit of tightness and discomfort in that left leg. Yeah, I've always had this pain in my hip and my lower back's just killing me. Okay, how low can you squat? I only can get it to about there, right? What would you say if we start to strengthen that area and maybe try and eliminate some of that pain? How would that make you feel? I feel great. So we start to do that and we work on that. Before you know it, the goal was initially fat loss, which we end up still achieving, by the way. But the driver become, wow, like I thought I wanted fat loss, but ultimately I just want to feel good in myself. I want to feel stronger, and I want to have this better quality of life for myself. And guess what? By pursuing those things, you can't fluke getting into good shape. Sorry, fucking cramping my hamstring there. You can tell I've been on my feet all day. What we had double training day for myself, but it's not like I know I'm saying that's bad. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the aesthetics. But as I said, you can train for aesthetics, and by solely focusing on aesthetics, you don't get a guarantee that you're working on your health. You don't get a guarantee that you're going to feel better. You get a reward where the attention side of things comes your way. You physically can look in the mirror and have changes happen to you. But guess what? You can still be in a position where you look in that mirror and you say to yourself, I'm a mess. I'm disgusting. And insert whatever shit thing you're going to say to yourself. So, always chase performance, don't chase aesthetics. Chasing performance will get you aesthetic. Chasing aesthetics will get you performance. Okay, stop taking progress pictures. I know, very controversial. It's very highly driven in the coaching space. I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan of it at all. I think a picture at the start of your journey and a picture 6 months in is good enough for me. If you want to take pictures every 3 months, all power to you. If you want to do it every month, okay, I'd argue against it. However, if you're someone that finds they are having this struggle with their image, the poor body image, seeing yourself in a mirror and seeing yourself in pictures every single week or every single month, it's not good. It genuinely is not good for you. Now, there's an argument to still take the pictures and being able to be coached on breaking that relationship. But again, we're putting at the front line that you are how you look. You're way more than how you look. You're way more than the less muscle, excess fat, or funny nose, big ears, whatever you want to say, whatever the judgment is that you have in yourself, you're way more than your facial features. You're way more than your appearance. And really, that's what we need to break through. So if we keep putting these pictures out where you think you're not happy with your appearance, even if you're getting leaner and shredded, you're still going to keep seeing those pictures and you're still going to self-judge. Okay? Now, progress pictures can be so important though. So when you get on this journey and you think, man, I'm not really seeing a difference. It's like, right, well, let's shift what you've just said there. Are you seeing a difference? No. Okay. Do you feel a difference? Yeah. What do you feel? Well, I've got more energy when I get up in the morning. Okay. Don't have that pain in my back that I used to have. Okay. Well, I'm lifting more. Okay. And I suppose my clothes fit a wee bit nicer. There we go. So you're saying you're not seeing any progress, but you've just mentioned that clothes are feeling better on you. Yeah, but I don't think I've actually lost anything. Okay. But you're more confident in those clothes. Yeah. There we go. That's a win. We forget that. How's that not a win? Because it's not portrayed in a picture. It's not portrayed on the scales. To me, that is one of the biggest wins that you have. To feel confident in your body image, to feel confident in yourself is a game changer. It's massive, and I hope everyone can experience it, because as you feel confident in yourself, you get to then lean into the options that are available for you on what you want to do with your fitness journey. Now, caveat with this, the body positivity movement, the whole argument for fat shaming and against fat shaming, I don't want to get into that in this episode. We've done it quite a few times on the show. But ultimately, feeling confident in yourself and true love towards yourself isn't not chasing health goals, right? So if there's no health and fitness goals around that, and as I said, health and fitness goals can be very widespread. It can be, I want to be able to walk X amount of distance, to I want to be able to run a marathon. I want to be able to lift X amount of body weight. I want to be able to do a pull-up. I want to be pain-free. Like, the list is endless and is so broad. But if you have true love towards yourself and confidence in yourself, then you will be pursuing an aspect of that. There's no word of a lie to. Like, we all want to live a pretty long quality of life for our family, for our friends, and to enjoy retirement, right? I know we don't think about it, but we want to enjoy this lifestyle. And in order to do that, we need to be taking care of ourselves and looking after our health in the right manner. And this is where it can be skewed, because in the right manner isn't just getting a six-pack and getting shredded. It absolutely isn't. I know many people are shredded, and it's their whole world, their whole personality. But out with that, there's not really much else going on. It's not just shade thrown at coaches, by the way, because I know everyone does it. They take their progress picture every single day or every single week, and they expect things to change, and then they don't change, but ultimately it's because they're misaligned. And it's not because the picture itself is necessarily went wrong, but the distortion on what they see in that picture, because of the guilt of, I ate off plan on Saturday, I never done my workout on Monday, I never hit my steps on Tuesday. Like, they pick apart 3 little things, which, let's be honest, missing a day here and there, or missing your nutrition by a couple of 100 calories or whatever it is, isn't going to dramatically change your body image in the space of a week, is it? Now, would you rather, right? Would you rather see these changes happen week on week and not get anything else, just get the satisfaction that you are getting leaner? Or do you want to get stronger week on week? Do you want to have more energy? Do you want to have like more confidence, which arguably you would get if you start to get leaner? These are all things that you need to consider, as well as pursuing the aesthetic journey. We need these other things to happen. And there is an argument for, like, it's so hard to communicate this, because in a way, if done right, you can get both. But do you really need the picture every week? No, you don't. It's mainly a kind of byproduct marketing tool for us as coaches. One of the last points here, a very important point to make, is your nutrition. I don't care what anyone says here. The food side of things, no good foods and no bad foods. Yeah, right. Circumstances and places for everything. If I have 3 whole birthday cakes one day, is that a bad thing? Well, it doesn't really align with what I'm doing, is it? Now, if I have a slice of birthday cake at a birthday party, depending on the situation or circumstance, then that's almost not frowned upon. But if I sit right here just now and I tell you that, oh yeah, I had 3 birthday cakes for my breakfast, it's like, oh my God, right? It's not necessarily the food, it's the feeling that comes with food. And a lot of people don't realise what normal looks like or what normal feels like, because they've never experienced it. Because every 2 days there's a Chinese, there's a takeaway, there's a Subway, there's a meal deal. There is some sort of fucking processed element in their diet, right? Or in their food, in their nutrition. Now, if you can get roughly 70 to 80% of whole foods, you will start to see improvements in your self-worth, your feeling, your feel-good energy, your digestion, your sleep, your mood. All these things will start to improve just by making that one change. Now, arguably, if you start resistance training as well on top of that, boom, it's a double whammy for success. But to say that you can just eat what you want and if it fits your macros and all this sort of stuff, which really isn't a term anymore, thankfully, but I still see a wee bit of it kicking around that, yeah, you can spank your calories for your Chinese at the weekend and whatever. Pay attention to how you feel after these foods. Genuinely ask yourself, do I feel good after eating it? Sometimes the taste of them, fucking tastes amazing. Like, I get it. It tastes so good. But if you can connect that with a feeling, with the emotions of the reasons why you're having it, Are you celebrating? Are you trying to de-stress? Are you using an outlet because you've had an argument with someone? Is it every time you have a fallout with someone that you reach for certain types of food? This is where you start to unpack some emotional eating behaviours. Now, this isn't an episode on eating disorders as such, but more around the body image. This has a part to play because, as I said with the check-in photos, if you are going through your week to week and nothing's physically changed, but you know you ate off plan 10%, you know you had the Chinese when you should have had whatever it was, and then you send that check-in picture, the guilt, it's almost like beer goggles, it's like guilt goggles. You're looking at yourself through this lens of, you bitch, you fat bastard, look at you, look at the state of you, I'm disgusted in you, how dare you do that? And I don't know anyone, right? That's a lie, I do know. I know a handful of people, right? So it does work for, let's say, 20% of people, where shaming yourself will make you, I guess for some people can help them make the first step. But ultimately, a large percentage of people, like, how long you been shaming yourself? Let's go back to that 16, 15-year-old you. I think you've been doing it for long enough. And I think it's time to draw a line in the sand and really accept that the shaming side of things is doing nothing for you. You need to be almost a little bit more kinder to yourself. And if you truly are showing yourself kindness and love, then guess what? You'll be making the right decisions. You'll be aligned with your goals, aligned with your values. That I'm not saying the Chinese is bad or the meal deals are bad, but if that's all you're comprising your diet with and you're not showing up for your workouts, but you start doing it out of love instead of hate, then you're going to make some long-changing lifestyle. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Long-term impact, sorry. My head's all over the place tonight. So, I know that I kind of bolstered that onto the nutrition part, but you need to kind of fuel your body to feel good. And that's what nutrition can do. We forget that our gut and our brain is strongly linked, and it's been proven more and more as we move through the ages of scientific studies and all that good stuff. And it's great to see, it's fascinating to see actually that feeling in your gut definitely means something. And if that feeling is clouded by all these kind of chemicals and food or whatever it is that you're having that don't make you feel good, then it's time to try and change that a little bit. Okay, one of the last points here, dealing with the hard days. There's always going to be times that you have this flare up of not feeling happy in yourself, not feeling happy with your skin, not feeling happy with how you look, just whatever it is. It could be a combination of all the previous points I've just mentioned. Food's not been great, you've been maybe on holiday and eating and drinking a wee bit more than you usually do, you're out with your routine, you're not seeing sunlight, you're not getting out a walk, you're not doing things for yourself, then these hard days are going to come, right? You're going to feel crap about yourself, but create things that get you to highlight. It's not just about your shape. It's like, wow, how do you shift this into like a superpower? And one thing I love doing, and it's quite sad really that we have to kind of reach this, but people who are not fortunate enough to have legs to stand up on, people are not fortunate enough to open their eyes and see their wife smile or their kid smile, people who don't have their hearing to hear someone laugh. Like most of us have this kind of beautiful thing that we take for granted, which is life, and we give so much power and control to it, to the weight and the scales, but then also how we look in front of a mirror. And all the time that we're judging ourselves in front of that mirror, no one's really thinking that. It's just our own internal thoughts. So when you realise that, you can start to go, right, okay, why am I feeling like this? Oh, it's because I didn't have a good night's sleep, and then I really scranned a lot of food before bed last night, and that didn't make me feel good. Now my digestion's off. So, right, cool. No judgment, no guilt. Draw a line in the sand. You know, you can't. No amount of guilt can change the past. So what are you going to do going forward? Well, I know I always feel good after I go a long walk. Okay, let's schedule a wee walk in. Oh, I feel really good. Okay, I always feel good when I get a good lifting weight session in. Right, let's get one in then. And that's how you start to piece together this momentum building machine. And over time, you start to break down that relationship. You start to better that relationship because you are strong. you're fit, you've been showing up for yourself. So it doesn't matter if someone's bigger or more shredded than that, or you can appreciate that, but you can look at yourself and go, you know what, that's where the comparison pictures can come in. Kind of look at yourself before and go, it's not that anything's wrong with that, it's just that was a place I was in before and that's what I was doing, and this is the place I'm in now, and this is the result of it. The image of my body is one part of it, but what's more important is what my body can now do. I can walk, I can climb the Monroe, I can do the 5K, I can do the 10K, half marathon, squat X amount of weight, bench press pain-free, deadlift pain-free, should I say, like do my first high rocks. That's why these things are so important, and it's way more than how your body looks. So if you're someone who says they're not in shape enough, usually it's overweight, or you're not happy with how you look in front of that mirror, you're not defined by your looks, okay? You're not. You're way more than that. Start to find the things that you can tag onto, that you're grateful for, that you can, you know what? Yeah, fucking hell, like, shit, man. People can't walk. People don't get to see. Right, I do. So what can I do with this? So final thoughts on this: body dysmorphia, body image issues. Look, they're hard. There's lots of things we can do to overcome it and tackle it. But ultimately, you need to know it does start in the mind. It starts with you and you alone. It's no one else is going to change it. You need to create actions that you can follow. And those actions have to be unfollowing the accounts that don't give you value. The comparisons of always taking pictures and looking at yourself in the mirror. Like, we need to shift that to performance. And just know that ultimately, the strongest version of you, it's not in front of that mirror. It starts in the mind. It generally starts with the thoughts and the way that you speak to yourself. And your body hears what the mind says. So you need to speak to yourself with kindness. You need to show yourself some love. And if you truly show yourself some love, you'll follow through with those actions. And those actions will lead to results. They'll lead to the reward, the hit of confidence, and all these great things to follow. Now, that wraps up today's episode. Slightly longer one, but thank you for tuning in if you made it all the way to the end. If you're someone that struggles with this, let me know if this helped you. If you are someone that struggles with this, let me know if it didn't. If you still kind of have questions or you still get frustrations, don't be embarrassed. There's probably another point just to finish on, actually. There's nothing to feel embarrassed about. We all experience it, and we experience it in our own ways, in our own events, and our own right or wrongs. And each experience is going to be different. And there's no silly experience. There's no overreacting type of experience. It's just how do we move forward with it? And as I said at the start of this episode, hopefully this episode has helped one person. And if it does, that's all I care about. That's the whole point of this podcast. It's the reason I keep doing these. It's why I'm recording at nearly 11 o'clock at night. And it's why I want to keep doing these episodes, to give you guys as much value as I can. So look, I want to help. If you need any help, follow me on Instagram at Coach Crossar. Send me a message. Might take me a wee while to reply because I'm a nightmare at replying on it, but as soon as you message, I'll be happy to get into conversation and see what we can do. Comment below this video. Share it with a friend if you found it useful and feel like more people should be talking about it, because we're saying the negative side, but equally the obsession side is just as bad. So until next time, have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.